Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nature Aquariums TV, and today we have a really cool video. We are going to rescape this UNS 60A tank that we've had running for almost a year, and it's time to do a major makeover and turn it into a CO2 planted tank. But before we start with the video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this. So this is a UNS 60 all-in-one. Now, I have videos on the all-in-ones that shows you how they can be used for fresh or salt water. In this case, this is a freshwater setup that we did. And you can actually see the video how HIP did this a year back ago here at the store. So a year later, you know, we always like refreshing our tanks, our displays. We have a lot of customers come in, and it makes for really good content, and it makes for really good excitement. Customers like seeing new scapes. That's what inspires them. So this is a scape that was really well done, non-CO2 with Anubias and Vallisneria. But what we're going to do now with it is going to turn it into a CO2 setup. We're going to keep the existing substrate because it's contrasoil. It's really good. We're going to add a little more contrasoil there to get some of the height that we want. But we're going to pull the rock. There is matrix media plus the UNS media already in the filter. It's been running. The tank has been cycled. We're going to scoop out all the fish and the shrimp that are in here. We're going to keep them to the side, and then we're going to put them back in. And we're going to turn this scape into kind of a Dutch style, but it's going to be modified. It's going to have some hardscape, and we really want to showcase additional plants that people really don't get to see growing. And one of our biggest pushes that we've been doing here at the store is to showcase more plants, to teach our customers what these beautiful plants actually look like once they mature and they convert from nursery, which a lot of them are grown above water, to underwater where their leaves change. They get their beautiful colors, and the images that you see in these award-winning scapes or on Instagram. Usually people come to a store, they see with the plant, or they order plants online, and the plants don't look like the way they were expecting. So part of this, it's a lot of education into the different species. We are going to list the species in the description, and we're going to link them to our website so you can see what they're all about. As far as CO2, we're also going to do something different too. Instead of going the pressurized CO2 system, we are going to go with the Fluval plant Bio CO2 system. Now, this is a yeast and water system. You have to add sugar and the activator packet. And I got to caution you, your house needs to be at least 75 degrees. It does not work if your house is colder than 75 because yeast naturally needs heat in order for it to do its thing and to create CO2. But this is a really nice system. It's a pressurized stainless steel can, so it doesn't have a risk of blowing up on you. Plus, it has a pressure release valve and it has a bubble counter. So this system will run day and night, but with the good circulation and aeration that the all-in-one provides, because of the cascade effect in the back chamber, I don't run the risk of really gassing the fish. So I'm excited to set that up as well, and to use it and to educate people how we can set up CO2 systems with the right tank and match them up to people's budgets and needs. So we're going to start now deconstructing this tank, and Brittany and I are going to work on it, and this is all of Brittany's aquascape dreams. So let's see how we make it turn out. right, guys, so I want to talk about a little bit of filtration, especially after you do a major makeover into your tank. Now, one of the first things you're going to encounter is that there's going to be a lot of sediment, debris, all sorts of cloudiness floating around in the tank, and you're trying to figure out what is the best way that you can use to polish the water quickly. I'm going to let you in on a little secret we've been doing at the store. We've been using this great product from Sarah. It's called Crystal Clear, and they're these little poofs. They come here in a net, and you can take it out of the net. But they are not your normal polyfill. They're spun fiberglass. Now, don't worry, it's not going to make your hands itchy, but it's really effective at polishing down to about 10 microns. And the beauty of this is that they're washable. You can get about 3 to 4 washes out of them, clean them with a sprayer in your hose, in your sink, and you can then put them right back into your tank and continue polishing. We use them for fresh and salt water. So you're going to say, hey, you just did an all-in-one. Where are you going to put this that it's going to get the most flow? Well, this is where getting a mesh style sock filter, and I have these on the side already for you. So mesh style sock filters are a little bit different in that they're higher flow. In other words, they don't accumulate as much as the felt or the white clothy material does. And what we did is we literally filled the sock filter with this material. And I got to tell you, overnight the tank is crystal clear. We're going to show you some footage of that right now before we add the CO2. But this is a little life hack. We use these on hang on the back filters. We use them in sumps by putting them in the sock filter like that. We use them in all-in-ones, and I use them in canister filters. So this is a great product. You can also pick it up on my website. I know Sarah products are not always readily available at your local fish stores, but we have them with super low shipping nationwide available for you, and free shipping on select orders over a certain amount. Guys, really, this product has been really good. Our Sarah rep turned us into it years ago, and we've been using it ever since. We buy them in huge amounts, huge boxes, because we go through it with over 150 aquariums. All right, guys, so we talked about adding CO2 to this tank. I'm gonna use a product that works well if your home temperature is 74 degrees or greater. This is the Bio CO2 product from Fluval, and it is a yeast-based method. So in other words, we're going to be mixing it with the yeast packet, the activator, and sugar with water, and it's going to ferment, and it's going to start creating CO2. Now, what's different from, say, do-it-yourself that you use a Coke bottle, it's the fact that this is stainless steel, so it has a pressure relief and it has a bubble counter. We're going to walk you through the whole process of setting this up. I kind of talked about this product a couple months ago when it came out, but I wanted to set up a tank for it, and I really didn't have a tank here at the store that I could add it to it. But now, since we redid this tank, I think it's going to be a great addition to it. Now, one thing I gotta let you know, that with any of these always on CO2 systems, you have to make sure that you have really good rippling and gas exchange into your tank. So in other words, make sure that if you have a hang on the back filter, that you lower the water level so you have a lot of rippling. Yes, you're not going to be losing the CO2 because this thing's going to be putting CO2 in there all day long and night. You also got to make sure that you are doing proper gas exchange and that you adjust the bubbles per second. This is why I like these systems a little bit better than the bottle that you can't control. Now, Aquarium makes one that's good for small tanks, but at the rate that it flows, and because it does have some leakage to it, it is not airtight. The amount of CO2 that it puts in is minimal, so you don't risk the risk of over CO2 saturation in the tank. But on these, that these are a little bit more efficient, always make sure that you adjust down the bubble counter on the bubbles per second, and that you watch the health of your fish, and that you have a lot of oxygen exchange. Now, that being said, during the photo period, if all being done right, your plants will oversaturate the tank with oxygen, which is a great thing and which is what you want, and you get healthy, luscious plant growth. So here we're going to do the Unboxing. Inside here, first thing is a packet, and these are with the refills. This is the activator, and this is the booster. Here we get a nice standard fitting bubble counter. A really beautiful stainless steel can, and it's screw on. There is a silicone seal in there. Inside the package comes with everything that you need, including tubing and a CO2 diffuser. Now, mind you, this is not a high-end CO2 diffuser. It's not like an Aquario. These are entry level, and you can always upgrade to a better CO2 diffuser if you like. In this case, we're going to be setting this up in our all-in-one, and I'm actually going to mount it in the back chamber of the all-in-one, where it's going to be hidden from light. That way the CO2 diffuser plate, the ceramic disc, won't be exposed to light, and hopefully it's going to stay cleaner and run more efficient. That's one advice that I could give you, is that whenever you're using in-tank CO2 diffusers, keep them away from light, because you got to remember, you have nutrients in your water, you have a huge amount of CO2 coming in, and algae is going to want to grow on the disc of the CO2 diffuser. So the further away you keep it from the light, the better it's going to work. And so it's empty, and we're going to follow the instructions on how to set this up. By the way, this is your check valve, and it prevents backfeeding any of the water back into your CO2 reactor. It's important to use a check valve, because if you mount this at the bottom, once the pressure dies off in here, as the yeast stops creating CO2, it could start siphoning water into here from your tank. So always use a check valve. All right, team, so first things first, you get 2 of these O-rings. You place the O-ring, one of them is a spare. Keep it, don't throw it away. The purpose of the O-ring here is to keep this tight against your needle valve, and this is where your needle valve works. This over here, it's a little pressure relief in case too much CO2 were to form. This thing would pop open and release some of the pressure. This screws in like that. This is your bubble counter. This is where you're going to show your bubbles per second. You're going to adjust. You got to fill this with water, not mineral oil like a lot of websites show. Mineral oil is only going to clog up your air stone, so always use just plain tap water. The next part, we're going to add the bio booster and the activator. This is yeast. It's gonna, this whole mixture is going to smell like either you're baking bread or you're making beer, so don't be alarmed, but it's okay. The smell will not go into your fish tank. All right, for the next step, inside your canister, you're going to have a line, and it's really high up on here. It's approximately this tall. That is your water fill line, but you're going to need something else. You're going to need 2.5 cups of white sugar on the 250 model, or 1.25 cups of sugar for the smaller model. It tells you to put room temperature water. After speaking to a lot of people at Fluval, they recommend 100-degree Fahrenheit water, not 100 degrees Celsius, that would be 212, but 100-degree Fahrenheit water. It should be warm. Use a thermometer. I use here from our cooler. I mix hot water and cold water, put a thermometer on it, and I get about 100 degrees. And one of the things I'm going to recommend that you do is that you pour in your sugar into the warm solution, so that way it dissolves. It's important that you dissolve the sugar completely, and that you stir this. So grab a chopstick, grab something to make sure that you don't just dumping in granulated sugar crystals, because it's not going to do anything. So dissolve the sugar first, make a sugar water solution, then pour that in. One of the other things I want to advise you against doing is to fill this in and shake this with the cover on there, because what you're going to eventually cause is to get some of that sugar water going up into your bubble counter, and that could clog up the mechanism. So avoid doing shaking like if you are mixing drinks. Do all your mixing outside and then pour the liquids in. So I have my sugar, water, yeast, and activator booster tablets all filled in. We want to make sure that the gasket is seated in here firmly. And we are going to close this until it stops. We're good now, and we are ready to run CO2 tubing to our tank. So I want to show you guys how to set this up. The check valve, one side is white, one side is black. There is a little teeny tiny arrow pointing this way. So in other words, the white side is going to be on the bottom, the dark side is going to be on the top. And you take some of your CO2 proof tubing, put it in. The little collar goes on first. And you put that in there, and then you tighten on the little nut. And then this goes above like this. It takes about 24 hours for the CO2 to kick in. This comes with 2 suction cups, a cleanable CO2 diffuser and gasket. And then this will go in like that, and that's how you hold it in place. And we're going to mount this on the inside of our middle chamber of our all-in-one. If you guys have all-in-ones, that's a good spot to put it in. As long as it's submerged underwater, it'll give it time for it to mix, and you should get the most amount of life out of the diffusers. If you don't have an all-in-one, find a shady spot in the tank where the CO2 diffuser won't get that much light. All right, so one of the things we want to measure right now, we've had the tank set up since yesterday. We've obviously buffered the water, but we want to do a double check on the general hardness and the alkalinity. And for that, you can use your GHKH test kit. In this case, I am using the Aquarium Co-op multi-test strips. They're fairly accurate. One of the things that you have to keep in mind, the rule is 3 seconds in the water, 50 seconds out of water, and then do the reading. Don't wait longer than that. You start waiting longer, the test results will change. So for that, I'm going to grab my phone and set up a timer on it for 1 minute. Put it in here 3 seconds. I pulled it out, and you lay it flat. Don't shake it, don't move it, don't do anything. Wait for the 50 seconds, and it's going to give you a couple things. Now, what am I looking for in the tank? I want to make sure that my general hardness is between 100 to 120 ppm. This particular test kit goes from 75 to 150, so err on the side of being closer to the 150 scale. The next thing that I'm looking for is the alkalinity, or the KH, and you have to have at a minimum 40 ppm. Anything lower than that, and it's going to be too low, too acidic. And it'll be hard also controlling the CO2. because it'll keep trying to drive down the pH. So make sure that that is in those ranges. So my timer is done, and what we do is we compare it, and right now it's telling me that my alkalinity is perfect, but I could use more general hardness buffering. So we're going to add more equilibrium, which is this. The equilibrium does both the general hardness with the calcium and increasing the general hardness. It also is going to add a lot of potassium, iron, and everything, and trace elements in iron. So this way, right now the tank is all on that. These crypts, these plants are all going to be using as much general hardness and potassium as there ever will. They're readjusting to being planted. In addition, we've increased the light output because we are planning on doing CO2. So we're going to be putting a lot of growth stress into the tank. Whenever you do that, you have to make sure that you don't have your general hardness limiting. You want to make sure that your potassium is not limiting. So that being said, we're also going to dose this tank with a stronger potassium only base supplement. We're going to switch over to APT1 from to our Aquarius to increase the amount of potassium in the beginning of this setup. So here we have our tub of equilibrium, and the way this is dosed, it's 1 tablespoon for every 20 gallons will raise your GH by 3 GH, right? So in this case, this is a 20-gallon setup, and I am halfway through. I'm around 75 ppm. I want to get that doubled. I'm going to take 1 level tablespoon, and the way this is done, it's that you can either, if you have a completely normal tank, I would suggest always shaking it towards the back of the tank where it doesn't get as much surface agitation, because this is going to cloudy up your tank for a little bit, about 15-20 minutes. Or you can go and put it in the sump chamber just like I did over here, and it's going to go and dissolve. Now you're going to get this cloudy. It does not affect the fish. It is not harmful. I will tell you, this stuff is really good for making sure that you have good molts with your inverts, your shrimp, and for snails. If you ever find that your snails are getting holes in their shells, most likely it's a lack of calcium, and adding a supplement like this is really, really good. All right, guys, so this wraps up day 2 of setting up this tank. We've added the CO2, we've checked the water parameters, we added additional equilibrium. Off camera, we've also gone and added more bacteria just to help strengthen up the tank. The last thing we want to really do is check the PAR readings and make sure we're getting the light levels that we want. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to adjust the lighting until we get it to the way we want to. And then we're going to wait until the CO2 starts percolating, and we'll close out the video with that. All right, so we're using an Apogee MQ510 meter. This is the best PAR meter that you can get for aquatic purposes. It uses a sensor that's fully aquatic, and this also has built-in calibration to deal with the light reflecting in the water, because PAR is different through the air than it is through water. Water tends to have a little bit of a magnifying effect and scatters also the wavelengths. So what we're looking for here is going to be about 40 to 50 PAR, and right now I'm getting about 59 to 60, 50 to 60. I think this is perfect. The whole tank is having a nice even amount of PAR at the substrate, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera. It is really nice. This is the Kessel A160 Tuna Sun, so it is adjustable. We can change the color from a cooler white 65K to a more 5K warmer. In this case, with the red muzzle tetras and the red rock, I think pushing a little bit warmer white is gonna give it the best results. you'll grow plants no matter what the spectrum is, guys. So it doesn't matter whether it's 65 or 4K or 45K with the light. With Kessels, they always optimize for par. The change in color spectrum is just for your eyes. But this is the perfect par for this tank like this. It is not at full blast. It is approximately about 50 to 60% on the dial. And other than that, guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow after we finish setting this up. All right, so the tank's been running now for almost a week since the CO2 started, and I wanted to go over a couple things that we've been checking on. One, we've been doing some water tests using our digital API spin test, and what I didn't show you in the video is that the tank was running a little bit lean, so instead of going with APT1 like I previously said in a video I would, I decided to go with Easy Green aquatic fertilizer. It seems that the livestock that we have in here is not producing enough nitrates, and so I really decided to go with a little bit more complete fertilizer. So I went with Easy Green. I have it on the doser, and I am going to post on how much I am dosing and the regimen schedule on that as well, so you can follow up at home for that size tank. And you're going to see I'm keeping up the nitrates and phosphates. Probably going to do a little bit of supplemental potassium, but right now I'm not going to really add it because I've been keeping up with the equilibrium, and I have the hardness at about 111, which is really good for this tank, and the equilibrium does add a lot of potassium. So far, I got to tell you, I'm really happy with the results I am seeing. Even though this is not adding full-blown CO2 like we have it on our 50C or on our big display, the 120p model, which we're dumping in a full 30 parts per million CO2. I can definitely see very little algae on the tank. I am giving it a good amount of light, and I'm seeing really good growth. The Crypts are actually growing amazing. The Stauro is doing a nice job. The Anubias are looking absolutely stunning. The Pinto, great coloration. Everything is really doing really nice. I am quite honestly really surprised at how well this thing is working. Now, mind you, here the temperature at the store is 75, 76 degrees. So that's really good for the yeast-based CO2. Keep adjusting the needle valve. It seems that as the pressure changes, the bubbles per second change as well. So it's something that it isn't as easy as a set and forget like a pressurized CO2 system. It does take a little bit more tweaking, I gotta say. Otherwise, super happy, good product. I'm actually going to show you how I'm going to test the CO2 concentration in this tank by doing a little test, and I want to show you how it's done. All right, guys, I'm going to show you the quick and easy way to figure out if you have the right amount of CO2 in your tank or not. The way we usually do it is that we need to drop the pH of the tank by 1 degree when we add CO2 to achieve 30 parts per million, which is the standard for a highlight high growth tank. Now, you can also run with 15 to 18 ppm of CO2 for like a moderate, and you're going to get nice results. But certain plants like Monte Carlo or baby tears and some of the more difficult stem plants are going to require a full 30 ppm. In this case, this tank is not a completely high-tech tank. It's got a Crypts and Anubias and less demanding plants, so I don't need that much CO2, which is why the non-pressurized CO2 system works. So in order to figure this out, this CO2 system is running 24 hours a day, so I really don't have a way to measure my pH before I introduce CO2 and after, which is something you would do in a pressurized system. So for example, if your CO2 kicks in with a pressurized system at 10 o'clock in the morning, you could take a pH reading at 9 o'clock, see what it is, say it's 7.5, and after about 3 to 4 hours of your CO2 running, you would do a pH reading and make sure that that pH dropped by a degree. Well, in this case, we're going to do something a little different, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So for this, you're going to need a container that has a tight-fitting lid, and you're going to need a way to measure pH with an accurate pH test kit. In this case, I am using a HANA pH test probe. It's digital and it's nice and accurate. So take in a measure of CO2 about halfway through the cup. Don't shake it. And what we're going to do is actually put it in there, and I want to measure what the pH is on this system. And this is going to be right now with the CO2 having run day and night. I want to see what the pH is of the tank. It is still reading. These digital, the better quality pH test pens do take a minute to lock in onto the pH reading. All right, so as you can see, the pH is at 6.9. Now we take it out, and what we're going to do is I want to degas all of this CO2 that's in there, and we're going to do it by fizzing out the CO2 that's in the water. And you need to do this about 4 or 5 times of shaking and then opening up and releasing and getting rid of all that CO2 that was dissolved into the water. So you kind of have to think of this as a soda that you would shake, and after you shake it, it fizzes all out and becomes very flat, or a beer. I don't drink beer, so I wouldn't know, but I figure it's got to be the same thing. You guys out there may be able to help me out with that. I don't know what a flat beer tastes like, but I don't know what a good beer tastes like either. So here I am wafting it and shaking. I know this sounds weird, but it does work. Right now what we're doing is getting rid of all that CO2 that's in there. All right, now we're going to take a pH reading again, and we're going to notice that that pH is increasing. So there you have it. It's increased by about 0.6. That means we probably have about 15 to 18 ppm of CO2 in the tank, which for what we are doing, this is great considering that this CO2 is being injected into the tank 24 hours a day. It's the other reason why we have such great aeration into the tank. You need a good surface agitation when you set up these systems that run 24 hours a day. So this is my conclusion. I got to tell you, I am super happy with the way this came out. I think Brittany did a great job on the aquascaping. It's a little bit different. I love the way the reds with the brown aqua soil are coming out and the choice of plants. I think this is going to look really nice once it starts growing in. I am super happy with the Fluval Bio CO2 system. For us, it's doing exactly what we want it to do. I got to put it out there. Its strengths and its weaknesses. The strengths, it provides you CO2 at a somewhat affordable level. The system, it's easy to use. All you need is sugar from home, hot water, and it comes with everything provided. I like the fact that it has a bubble counter, and I like the fact that it can really provide, being careful about this, about 15 to 18 ppm of CO2, which is exactly what we need to give us a nice growth into this tank. Where it would not work if your house is very cold, or if you need higher amounts of CO2, like in a super high-tech planted tank. I would not recommend that. This is also the large system that's meant for up to 60 gallons, and I'm using it on the 20 gallons setup. So I don't know if the smaller setup would give me the same yield. We're going to see how long this one runs until it runs out. And then down the road I can maybe post an updated video of this tank and to show you guys what a 6-month growth on this tank is going to look like. But everything has really been working. This tank's become very, very low maintenance. Using the Aquarium Co-op fertilization is doing a great job. We did use the root tabs in the substrate because we did use a lot of the old substrate, which was already exhausted, and we topped it off with fresh contra soil. The plants are doing absolutely amazing. The crypts are looking incredible. The rotalas in the back are doing nice. Everything is really doing very, very nice. We've adjusted the light so it's just right, not too strong, not too high. This Kessel light, it's been around for a number of years. It still amazes me on how great it looks like, and the shimmer, and it's very elegant, single point. It's really covering a 24-inch area with really good par. So overall, I think this tank is great. UNS did a phenomenal job with the all-in-one design. I had plenty of room to put in all the biomedia. It's got good flow, good oxygenation. So all these components really came together very, very well. And I think it's a great tank for someone who wants to set this up and to do a really nice setup. Of course, you could do wood coming out and rocks and do whatever scape you want to do. You know, that's the beauty of this hobby. There's no right or wrong way of doing things. It's just all of us sharing our experiences. And just because it works great for me doesn't mean it's going to work great for you. But we got to keep trying it, right, guys? So once again, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate your great support. And by the way, keep those comments coming. I love those comments that you guys are putting in and questions. And I get to meet lots of really cool folks out there. You guys are doing a really nice job supporting our channel. Please make sure you like and subscribe and share. Share my videos. That will really help me to create more and to fund a lot of these projects. I am self-funded when it comes to these videos. I don't have anybody, you know, Kessel doesn't send me a free light. I don't get a free anything. I buy all these products here at the store, and if I really like them, I'll showcase them. If I have a product that really did not work for me, I'm not going to write a bad video about it. I'm not looking to trash any product or anything else out there. Because just because it didn't work for me, it doesn't mean it may not work for somebody else. It's just not working with me and my needs. So keep that in mind, that when I do all these, they're not sponsored. They're sponsored by us, Nature Aquariums. So we do it so you liking and sharing and subscribing and watching to these videos really helps us grow our channel. Other than that, guys, I think this was a pretty long video. Thank you for hanging in there. We'll see you next time. Happy fish keeping.